Welcome to TRS Clips, India's fastest learning portal. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell icon. What are the people in the world of finance thinking about making money now, which is different from, say, even pre-pandemic, which only finance guys know?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think a lot has changed actually. I think we're living in a fundamentally different world. The first thing that comes to my mind is, pre-pandemic, the expectation of an event like a pandemic used to be almost rarely modeled in, right? It used to be, okay, we can draw a 10-year model or a 15-year model, and there was no expectation of an event like a pandemic to be factored in. The biggest thing that has changed is across investments, people are saying this has to be factored in, right? We are likely to see, or we have to expect that we will see an event like a pandemic, which will significantly destroy all assumptions. Okay. So I think that is the number one change that has happened, whether you're investing in equities, whether you're investing in fixed income, whether you're buying commodities, whether you're buying gold, right? Whatever it is. I think that's the number one thing that has changed. Second is that there used to be a philosophy that countries like the US will never have high inflation rates. Okay. Sorry to go super technical, but
No, sure.
The US has had almost for 40 years absolutely low inflation, okay, which determined their foreign exchange policy. It used to be called the new monetary policy, where the US could pump as much money and it didn't make a difference to inflation. The US is now seeing 40-year high inflation, so almost 10% inflation, which is unheard of, which is impacting how all assets will get priced, because US monetary policy will now be determined by this new paradigm. Okay.
Why did they not see any inflation in 40 years?
Because lots of reasons, but the most important one was all assets were normally traded in the US dollar, right? So if you printed more money, it was still in the US dollar. And hence every country was ready to buy it. What has happened over a period of time is that things have changed, right? China has become more powerful, oil and gas prices have risen. US is if it is importing a certain amount of assets, it gets impacted by foreign exchange fluctuations. So, and at the same time, between 2008 financial crisis and subsequent crisis, the US has pumped so much money into the market that it started to finally impact their inflation rates. Okay. So these are definitely two big trends that have happened. I think the third one, very, very different, is the emergence of a very powerful retail investor, individual investor, right?
All over the world?
All over the world.
Which means Aam Janta, which has extra money and they're looking for personal finance, means to multiply their khud ka money.
I don't know if you remember that a year back there was a stock called GameStop, okay, which suddenly caught everyone's attention when it rocketed. Okay, and people like Elon Musk tweeted about it. There were many funds who actually had a short position against GameStop, and they all lost money. GameStop's rise was predominantly driven by retail investors. Okay, the combination of retail investors having money, having the tools like Robinhood in the US, Zerodha in India, to make really transactions available at a cheap cost, and finally the power of social media to connect all these retail investors to behave almost like one, right? Where someone can say on Twitter or on Reddit, I'm doing this, and suddenly it gets caught up and people start tweeting. That information power is coming together along with money and technology to make the retail investor a very powerful force, right? So to me, these are three things that have changed pre and post pandemic. I mean, there are lots of others, but three things that have really changed in how investments are happening.